does. Are you not in Nigeria? Definitely exists. Okay, so 7:05, I promise we'll start. So we are officially starting. Um, my name is Olayinka, and I am the program call with me. We have Sherry, we have Bright, and we have Darren. They are in ReTrain Canada. So I'm just going to speak a bit about what we do, who we are. So Sherry, please can we go to the next slide before we go into the
Absolutely.
before we go into the nitty-gritty. Okay, so this is the agenda for today. I'm going to introduce ReTrain, and I won't be introducing cybersecurity because I know nothing about that. Okay, sure. So basically, this is the agenda for today. And yeah, so you see the different course options we have and the rest. So let me talk about us. So ReTrain basically facilitates future focused skills and training, future focused training and development from Africa to the world. So basically, we are training Africans on future focused skills so that they can be employable globally, basically. And we deliver real time, so live and interactive courses to reskill and upskill both individuals and corporations. So we actually do corporate trainings as well, but that is physical and for corporations. But on this platform, this is for individuals. We 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 want to equip you in the shortest time possible on in-demand skills. So that's what we do in a nutshell. And we don't just help you, or sorry, we don't just give you these skills. We also help you to position yourself for global opportunities. We help you with your resume. We help you with LinkedIn optimization. We help you with interview prep. So we pretty much hold your hands until I always say it's that the end goal for us is we want to see you earning money from the skill that you learn. Because hey, no one just learns a skill. Well, maybe you can learn a skill for the sake of learning a skill, but ultimately it's to increase make more money. Let me just put it that way. So we are here to pretty much help you on that journey. Sherry, please, the next slide. So apart from cybersecurity, we offer a whole lot of other courses. We have software engineering, we have data analytics, we have virtual assistant and client support. That is actually ongoing right now at the moment. We have digital marketing, we have Microsoft. So our courses, and this is a non-exhaustive list, we have ranging from non-tech to tech courses. And as I mentioned earlier, the duration for learning is usually very short because it's not like university where you have to do 1 or 2 years. Um the timing is really short because it's very practical, it's very hands-on, and you're able to get a job or at least apply for the roles once you're done with any of our programs. So these are just a couple of our trainings: bookkeeping and accounting, training and leadership, Microsoft Office, and so much more. Sherry, please, what's on the next slide? Oh, so I hand this over to you. I hand over to Sherry, my beautiful colleague.
Well, thank you, Oleanka. So, welcome everybody. As Oleanka mentioned, Retrain Canada and Retrain Nigeria work in a partnership to help educate individuals who want to upskill or reskill or fill in the gaps in their resume. Today's masterclass is on cybersecurity, and we have two amazing gentlemen with us who are both extremely experienced, very knowledgeable, and if I'm being honest, just a little bit scary with what they know around cybersecurity. Before I introduce them, just a couple of housekeeping things. We're going to be going through different components that we might cover in a longer, more in depth courses. I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions. If during the presentation you have a question, just drop the question in the chat and we will make sure that we have time at the end of the course to address any other questions that you might have as well. So first, allow me to introduce you to the fabulous Bright. Bright, your camera's on. Give a little wave so everybody can see you. So Bright is an experienced cybersecurity professional specializing in security awareness, simulating phishing campaigns, penetration testing, digital forensics, and OSINT investigations. With a strong analytical and investigative background, he has led security training initiatives, incident response strategies, and risk assessments to enhance organizational cybersecurity. Currently a senior cybersecurity analyst at Solve Cyber Solutions, our sister company, and a cybersecurity mentor at ReTrain Canada. Bright is dedicated to educating individuals and businesses on cybersecurity best practices, threat detection, and risk mitigation. In addition to his extensive background and knowledge in cybersecurity, Bright is also very entertaining, a lot of fun to speak with, and is always willing to educate anybody that is around him. The second mentor who will be presenting to you today is Darren. So Darren's a cybersecurity professional with expertise in security awareness, phishing campaigns, and compliance with NIST and ISO frameworks. And again, just a reminder, if you have a question, just put it in the chat and we'll have a chance at the end of the conversation to address those. So Darren is a member of our operations team at Solve Cyber Solutions and instructor at ReTrain Canada. Darren delivers cybersecurity training to individuals and organizations, covering topics from foundational security principles to ethical hacking. His background is programming, GIS data management, and adult education. And like Bright, Darren brings a lot of fun and entertainment to the world of cybersecurity and is responsible for opening the eyes of students for over the past 5 years with ReTrain. I want to mention just a couple of the levels of cybersecurity training we have. These are kind of our main courses, but we also do corporate training as well, which Olienka would happily be able to give more information on. But the three kind of main areas that we're focused on right now are cybersecurity basics, cyber foundations and quality assurance, and applied pen testing. So just a quick overview, and then of course I'm going to hand the floor over to the gentleman you really want to hear from today. So Cybersecurity Basics is a course intended to provide ground-level introduction to a variety of real-world cybersecurity topics. It has been designed for accessibility to those without an IT or security background, covering topics such as password security, two-factor authentication, common attack methods. It explores how to identify and communicate best practices with staff, managers, and peers, how to perform regular security audits of your own personal and business accounts to ensure that you haven't been compromised. The next level is cyber foundations and quality assurance. At the end of this masterclass, we'll talk about the specific outline items, but this is getting the students into threat research, software development, and IT security operations. Very hands-on, and this course is 6 weeks. And of course, the intense applied penetration testing has been designed to equip prospective cybersecurity professionals with the tools and knowledge necessary for them to conduct penetration tests from start to finish. Learners will analyze, modify, correct, port, and cross-compile code for various public exploits before escalating to remote and client-side attacks through both established and novel techniques. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the floor over to Darren and Bright, who are going to introduce you to a variety of topics in the world of cybersecurity. Darren, I will hand the floor over to you, and you just let me know when it is time for the next slide.
All right. Thank you very much, Sherry, for the kind introduction, and Olienka as well. Thank you for inviting me here today, everyone, and listening to any of the things that I have to say. We're going to get into a lot of general cybersecurity topics here today, and a lot of the things that we teach at ReTrain Canada, and the things that, as cybersecurity professionals, we are in charge of teaching other people and training them to make sure that their digital assets are secure. Cybersecurity has been a problem for, I think, a lot longer than people realize. There's been a challenge anyways, I should say. Our first little interactive bit here is our fact or fiction, and it seems like an unbelievable one, but what do you think here? The first recorded hacking incident occurred in the 1800s. Do you think that's fact or fiction? We'll give everybody just a second here to type an answer into the chat if you like. Some of you might be turning to Google really quickly here to decide if it's fact or fiction, which is a needed skill in cybersecurity, learning how to Google stuff. Well, the Inca says fiction. Ike says fiction too.
I won't put my
opinions?
answer in, but go ahead and put true, false, fact, or fiction in the chat. What do you think?
Cecilia thinks that's fact. There's a few that say that's fact. And those facts are coming in later, like they just had enough time to Google that. All right. Sherry, would you mind revealing the answer to that one on the next slide, please?
Absolutely.
That is a fact. Those of you that guessed fact were correct. And it seems unbelievable. You know, that's 200 years ago. 1834 was the first recorded, and it's technically a hacking incident. It didn't involve even electricity or computers. But there's the French telegraph system developed. It was supposed to be reserved for use only by military and government, which is not unlike a lot of the systems we have now. But they managed to embed secret codes. They had a malicious insider. They had a man on the inside that was able to intentionally make these mistakes in these messages that were being relayed along this telegraph system. And so this allowed messages to travel about 5 times as fast as it could go on a piece of paper on a horse way back when. And so the Blanc brothers, Francois and Joseph, were in Toulouse, or near there, and they were getting advanced knowledge of the Paris stock market trends and 5 days ahead of everybody else. So they become like the oracle of the stock market in Toulouse. Exactly like that, Sylvester. Yeah, a man in the middle sort of attack. They're kind of like that, but they had somebody on the inside. And so they were able to get advanced knowledge of stock market trends and get that unfair competitive advantage, kind of like insider trading ahead of everyone else in Toulouse. An interesting tidbit about that is that in 1834, once they were finally discovered by authorities, and it took them 2 years to discover it, once they were finally discovered, the police realized, like, no one's ever done this before, and we don't actually have any laws that say it's illegal. And so the two remained free. Like, there was no punishment for it. They were the first guys ever to think of that. An interesting fact there. So that was the world cyber attack, but almost 150 years before the internet was in people's houses. These annual cybercrime costs here is why we need cybersecurity. My intention is not to terrify people, but some of these statistics here have a tendency to do that. So in 2024, estimated $188 billion was spent on cybersecurity solutions. So we're talking training and software programs and recovery things and payments to bad guys, which seems like a lot of money until you consider that cybercrime cost the world an estimated $9.5 trillion last year. That's what we estimate, because not everybody reports these cyber crimes, so a lot of them go unreported. So we just use the numbers we do have and then compare that to the actual full data set that we have out there. So any people out there that are interested in loss ratios, we're losing by 40 or 50 to 1 here. We're not winning here. The bad guys are winning on this. It is expected to lose about $10.5 trillion next year, and that's global statistics. Cybercrime is the world's 3rd largest economy right now. Right behind China, and then the US, and then cybercrime has the most money flowing through it. I believe the statistic that I have heard is that $1 in $5 that is spent in the world goes towards cybercrime in some capacity or another, either recovering from an incident or paying the bad guys or bolstering defenses, that kind of stuff. The high risks out there, why we need to train people about this, is the world is getting digital. Like, everything's turning digital. There's not much left that isn't online anymore. We have unsecure employee behavior is the #1 cause of breaches. People are still the target of the bad guys rather than systems. 4 in 5 cyber attacks is a result of human error. I mean, somebody in that target organization clicked on something they shouldn't have, or installed a program they shouldn't have, or gave away some information, gave away a password or something like that. And that's where the bad guys are getting in. And then 1 in 5 is the bad guys found a technological flaw that they were able to exploit to let themselves in. The work from home is, it's been a thing now, even when COVID hit back in 2020, 5 years ago. It was a literal overnight shift to work from home for a lot of people in every industry. And at the time, it was just a scramble to get people keep people working at home. It's like, we don't have a computer to give you. Use whatever computer you need or whatever computer you have, just bring it and we'll let you join the network with it. And now we have personal networks overlapping with corporate networks more than ever before. Because of the work from home shift that happened because of COVID, a lot of organizations learned that we don't have to pay rent in a brick and mortar building. We can do everything remotely anymore. So some organizations aren't going back to the office. And at the time, they relaxed a lot of security rules just to be able to stay operational. And this, we'll worry about security later. And there's some organizations out there that later still hasn't happened. And we're 5 years out from that. So these improperly secured networks, people are just concerned with getting things to work. Does the network work versus does it work and is it secure? Is this new thing that we have to get people to also worry about? The latest thing here now also that we're talking about is these AI tools that are out there. Generative AI and machine learning is a very big industry buzzword. And it's getting to be a problem for us because so many of these organizations and vendors are incorporating AI into their products now. Like there's not much left that doesn't also have AI, because if you don't have AI in your product, then you're going to get left behind because all of your competitors have AI too. And a lot of people don't understand the implications of AI or what it does. They just know that they want it. And so they just start using it and they don't use it that securely. But it's also allowing these attackers to make smarter and more personalized and scaled attacks. And so those emails that we get are a little more believable. And we've got some videos and some audio tricks that we can do with AI now that make these social engineering attempts. And we'll talk about that in a bit, what social engineering is, that make them more believable and will fool more people. At the same time, we do have AI on the other side for defenses that can help in identifying, this is generated by AI. So we need computers to be able to tell what was generated by a computer and what's a real thing. But we're at the stage now where AI is causing a problem. AI is far from perfect. It still has plenty of flaws, but is getting better every day and kind of left unregulated for the most part. And so, people are concerned with the speed. Let's just build it and we'll worry about regulating it later. And then it gets out of control. And my concern is really if we get AI and machine learning on quantum computers, and then we still haven't really checked either of those things. We're not regulating them. It's like, do you want Terminators? Because that's how you that's how you get Terminators. But hopefully we won't get there. There are some cooler heads there's a lot of calls now for regulation in these cybersecurity industries. Do I think AI could take cybersecurity role out of market? Absolutely not. AI still needs oversight. The advent of AI in cybersecurity will generate some additional roles. It will eliminate some, but it will generate new ones to replace them. Because now if a job that was replaced by AI, now you need somebody to maintain the AI and oversee it and everything else. So we'll need AI specialists to help. But we'll take some out. One of the big things you'll hear us talk about, thank you for changing slides there, Sherry, is the NIST cybersecurity framework mentioned earlier. There are other frameworks out there like it. ISO 27001 is another one that's out there as well. It's a set of voluntary guidelines designed to help organizations assess and improve their ability to prevent, detect, and respond to cybersecurity risks. So one of the big challenges that we have in cybersecurity is people don't know what they have to do. Like, I don't know where to start. And so this NIST framework is a thing that's been created to help with that. Like, we don't know what to do. Well, here's a list. And so the NIST framework is very non-technical. It doesn't mention any like operating systems or specific computer programs or any versions of things. It gives people guidelines on what they need to do in every facet of their tech stack and in their network. And it just gives them guidance on here's what you should be doing. Here's what the best practice is right now. And NIST is constantly upgrading and updating their information as technology changes. We know it changes very quickly. So developed in the US, and it is a US framework, but a lot of the tech stuff is based in the US, and it's still good guidelines for everyone else. And when we look at the organizations that have fewer data breaches and they stay secure, well, what are they doing differently than everyone else, than the organizations that are getting hacked? So this is just a framework that we can use to figure out what do we have to do first. Where do we start? It was a huge challenge in cybersecurity. People don't know where to get started. And so we're building more and more resources online to help with people like that. And it is constantly updated. And Sylvester, do I think AI could become intelligent enough to orchestrate attacks by itself? Yes, I do. The short answer there, machine learning will have that We even have some pen testing tools right now that automate some of these cyber attacks that make it a lot easier make our jobs easier as well. The things that the NIST framework talks about, there's the big 5 there: identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. If you read more about this, you will see it's usually presented in a circular graphic, meaning that it's a constant loop. So after recovery, you take your lessons learned and you go back to the top. So identifying, so even that NIST framework is like, let's take a look at what you have. How many computers do you have? Where are they? Are they all in the same building? Do you have offices all over the world? Who's taking care of your software updates? Patch management is the thing that we talk about a lot. It's like, well, the bad guys got in because we didn't do our software update in a year. And people are unaware of the fact that they actually have to do that. And we talk to organizations about, all right, who's in charge of making sure the software is updated? And very often the answer is, well, nobody. We didn't know we needed to do that. We have to nominate a person to manage this stuff. So that's the kind of guidance that we offer people. And as cybersecurity professionals, you will be doing these audits like this. Yeah, Sherry offers a good point there. Think about how many devices you have in your home or your home office. And we're talking your smartphone, your computer, a smart TV, anything that connects to the internet really is an Internet of Things device. And I think if you think around the home and all your family members and how many devices they have, laptops and tablets and everything else. So there's a lot of internet access into individual buildings. And just imagine that. And I think we've even had that issue at ReTrain. It's like, well, how many laptops did we lend out? Was it 13 or was it 14? It's like, I don't know. I thought you were counting how many that was. And now nobody knows how many laptops we have out there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry.
I know
I don't
nothing.
know. I don't know. And then once you've identified, here's all your assets and what we have, then how do we protect that? And there's a lot of right answers, and there's a lot of ways that you could build this to protect it, but just spending money on it doesn't mean you're using the technology correctly. So it is tempting to just throw more money at it. Here, just spend some money. But spending money in the right places means you can save yourself some money, and that's what we're going to help people with as well when we look at an organization that doesn't know what to do or how to protect things. Like, well, here's what you can do, and here's where your best spend is. There's usually not infinite dollars to spend on these types of things. So figure out what your assets are in the identify part. And then once you've identified your assets, learn how to protect them. And then once you think you have them protected, now it becomes a matter of detection. So when something is off now, when something goes wrong, what alarms do you have to let people know that something maybe malicious is happening? And what does that look like? Do we have just somebody gets an email and it goes to an inbox that maybe nobody's looking at? Or does it go to a security operations center, a SOC? Is there somebody monitoring that right now that will do something about it right away? So these detection processes, do you have antivirus or any kind of, there's a lot of fancy software you could buy, and some of it's very expensive. But it monitors everything, no different than a security system on a home or an office that has alarms. If a door opens during off hours, like the store's not open right now, the alarm goes off, the police get called. Do we need a digital version of that here? And then so once you have detected that there is an anomaly or an event, then how do you respond to that? So in case of emergency, break glass, what do we do? One of the things that we have to teach people to do is plan a response. So you have to practice the fire drill. Just like you did in school. They make you, stand up, everybody line up at the door and go outside once a month kind of thing, or once every couple of months, just to make sure that everybody knows what to do when there is an emergency. So that incident response planning, so we help organizations develop that incident response plan. Who is responsible for doing what, depending on what happened? And you write down phone numbers for here's who we have to call first, and here's the lawyers that we need to notify, or any other regulatory commissions. And that's going to be different for everybody. So the planning all of that and responding, and then recovery. So how do we, after a cyber attack happens, how do we get back to normal? How do we get back to business as usual? And then any improvements we can make. How did the bad guys get in? So you do like a post-mortem analysis on it. How did the bad guys get in? What could we do to prevent another set of bad guys, or even the same bad guys, from repeating the same attack? And you learn that, and then that will usually involve some changes to your network. So after you have recovered and taken your lessons learned, you go back to the top of the list and identify again, because your set of assets has probably changed, and it's important to do this regularly. Tech stacks change very often, and it's not going to be the same next year. So you have to do this again next year. So there's how the NIST framework works, and it is a very valuable tool, and we're getting more people to follow it. It is voluntary, but it's becoming required more and more often as regulatory bodies out there, so the people that are in charge of banks or anything else, saying you guys have to be compliant with this, otherwise you have to pay a fine because you're not doing enough around cybersecurity. So this is one of the ones, that one and ISO 27001 are the ones that now the regulators are saying you have to do, be at least 80% compliant. You have to be doing 80% of the things in this list to be deemed as compliant, or maybe it's 100%. Depending on the industry. So there's going to be more and more pressure, and more organizations out there are going to require guidance from a cybersecurity professional, someone that knows what they're talking about and is familiar with this, and that can help. And so we're not just spending money where maybe it's not as valuable as somewhere else. Next slide, please, Sherry. Our next fact or fiction here. A new organization will fall victim to ransomware every 11 seconds. And now I find that, and I'm finding that more and more people that I talk to, when I ask who has heard the word ransomware before, there are more hands are going up in the room, like people are getting to be more aware of it. But I still meet people that have never even heard the word ransomware. But it's the #1 way we're losing money right now. Sylvester thinks that is a fact. It seems fairly often, like how many organizations are out there every 11 seconds? Is really often. That's what, 5 every minute. And that's a new organization. So people that have not had ransomware before. Most people seem to think that's a fact. Every 11 seconds. Yeah, Sherry, if you would kindly reveal our answer. And yes, that is a fact. Cybersecurity Ventures says a new organization fall victim every 11 seconds. Depending on who you ask, that number might move a little bit one way or the other by a couple seconds, but it is like the name of that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Ransomware is constant cybercrime. The internet doesn't take a break. It's everywhere. It's all the time. And bad guys they focus on the off hours. Those of you that are unfamiliar with what ransomware is, the bad guys manage to get into your computer and they encrypt all the files. They steal a copy of your data first, and then they leave you a note saying, I have your data and your computer is useless, but I'll sell your data back to you for some Bitcoin or some Monero. Some cryptocurrency is what they're asking for right now. But they time their attacks. The timing of these attacks is not accidental. Yeah. That's quick. So the timing of these attacks, so they'll drop ransomware, like 5 o'clock on a Friday of a long weekend, and you can read about some of these attacks. And the bad guys time these attacks on purpose. Now it's a long weekend. Now we have 3 days to complete all of our data theft and encryption, versus a regular weekend we'd only have 2. So these attacks happen in off hours when people are not in the office, and that's on purpose. Sylvester says, don't pay a ransomware attacker, and that is the sentiment. There are lots of organizations. I believe there was a coalition last year of, I think it was 47 countries, all signed a pact saying that we will, we all agree, all of us, all these 47 countries all agree to never pay the bad guys ransomware. So then we're looking to, we still have 150 other countries to go to get to agree to this as well. The existence of cybersecurity is why ransomware is doing, or the existence of cryptocurrency, is why ransomware is doing so well right now. Ransomware is not new. The first ransomware attack was in 1989. That goes back a little bit further than you think. And back then it was a matter of you had to mail a check for $150 to Panama, and they would mail you back a floppy disk to put into your computer to decrypt it. So even ransomware has evolved, but it's not a new thing. There was a question earlier about will we talk about penetration testing? Absolutely, we will. Here's that slide right now. So penetration testing, also known as pen testing or ethical hacking, that term gets some eyebrows to raise up sometimes because people are like, Darren, hacking is a bad thing. How can it be ethical? Like those two words don't go together. So ethical hacking is what Bright and I do. And so when people hire us, we pretend to be, and that's maybe the fun part of our job, is that we get to think like a bad guy. It's like, okay, well, if I was a bad guy, how would I hack my way into this network? And then so we do an assessment and we find the low-hanging fruit. Cybercrime are just crimes of opportunity. No one some of these attacks are targeted based on high value organizations, but most of them are, it's like a car that was left unlocked. It's like, I wasn't going to break into this car today, but since it's unlocked, I'm just going to help myself to whatever's in here. Cybercrime is very much the same, a weak password on something, lack of MFA, tricking somebody into letting them in. But ethical hacking is what we do. So we try to hack our way into a network, and then we report our findings to the client saying, here's how we let ourselves in, and here's what you can do to correct this so that a real bad guy would not be able to do the same thing. So it's kind of like advanced hacking, and that's why it's ethical, because we report it to our client, and we were hired to do it. They actually asked us to do it. Unsolicited pen testing, so trying to hack your way into somebody's network and they didn't ask you to do it, is not seen favorably anywhere. I believe is illegal in every country in the world. So please do not volunteer your pen testing services without getting that in writing first. That's one of the things I say on the first day of that applied penetration testing course. But it's simulating a real attack in the interest of discovering a vulnerability that the person, your client, didn't know was there. It's like, hey, did you know? And so it's very much the same as, do a walk around a building and identify here's where all the doors are, and you left this door unlocked. Did you? And a lot of the time the client will be, well, we didn't even know there was a door there. We've done some of these engagements where the owner of the company would come up to us at the end of the engagement and say, my password is, and just tell us whatever the password was. And we would say, yeah, we know. We already have it. You didn't have to tell us that right now. And that usually gets eyebrows to go up as well. It's like, you did? It's like, yeah, we're hackers. That's what we do. And that's just simulating the attacks using the same techniques that a real attacker would. And that's kind of the fun part. You get to think like a bad guy, so we can remediate those vulnerabilities before they get discovered by someone who's not going to report them, who's just going to do something malicious with them. So that's a little overview of what penetration testing is. It is kind of fun sometimes. Sometimes it's tedious and frustrating. And it's not just the technical skills that are important. So required skills, penetration testing, tech skills, yes, are important to learn how to do all these tools, knowledge of computers and their parts, networking concepts. Programming knowledge is not necessary, but I have found it extremely advantageous in understanding the ways that computers think or process information. Computers don't really think, they just follow instructions. One of the overlooked sections is communication skills. We got a lot of these people out there that, yeah, they're great tech nerds and they can hack their way into anything, but they have a really hard time with explaining what they found to a client and explaining it in a meaningful way that makes it make sense to a client. So those communication skills, note-taking for working with your coworkers and for yourself later on. So we teach people how to take notes, not just for themselves, for other people. Make notes like someone else is going to use it. Your report writing, that is, as a pen tester, that's your finished product. That is what your client gets for their money, is that report. So it can't be bad. It has to outline everything and list it by, here's the most severe thing that you have right now. Here's your biggest problem. And then here's your other, and then all the other problems might be secondary or less than, and so those can wait. And the desire for continuous learning and ability to learn quickly and curiosity are traits that pen testers and the people that like it tend to be, because what you learn this year will probably not still be the same next year. And so the tools that you use will be different next year. The technology you're looking at and some of the rules around it will also be different. New software gets created every day and is not tested thoroughly enough, and it leaves us lots of stuff to look at. So there's never a dull moment in pen testing, really. You've got something new to learn constantly. And there are CE requirements with a lot of these certifications as well to prove. So you have to prove that you've learned something new this year, that your knowledge isn't getting stale either. So there's a look at the NIST framework and what penetration testing is. I'm going to hand it off to Bright next, who is going to tell you about OSINT.
Hey guys, yes, my name is Bright, and I'm working here in Solve Cyber Solutions as OSINT specialist. Open source intelligence investigation is a very important component of penetration testing as well. So going back to pen test, just like Darren says, is saying, pen test in my own view is working hand in hand with companies, IT professionals, to identify the blind spot. Sometimes companies would tell you that, yeah, we are unhackable. That is not a very professional thing to say in regards to business, because you need to, until you are able to say that, is when you go through a thorough penetration testing engagement. So just like OSINT is a huge part of pen test. OSINT, we provide these services in a way that for insurance companies, for law enforcement, and even law firms, we help them to identify evidence, to gather evidences, gather information, and analyze the information we gathered in a very understandable way that relates to what they are looking for. However, Sherry, if you can go to the next slide, I would like to go further into the tools we use for OSINT investigation, types of OSINT we do. So there's social media search for OSINT investigation. So social media is where we come in to help law firms, insurance companies, investigation companies, even law enforcement. For example, in a real life scenario where we have a case of a claimant claiming to insurance claim that maybe claiming some kind of money, and the insurance company comes to us to help them to investigate this guy to know actually if there's any inconsistency in their statement of claim. So we go to their social media. Some people post. That's why we always advise people, what you post, think about it before you post. So some of them, they try to do their own personal OSINT investigation just to clear up their social media. But we have the tools that can bring out the things you think are no longer available there. So is one of the services we provide. Is a huge part of cybersecurity. OSINT on its own is a standalone profession if you know what you're doing in investigation. Even investigation journalists utilize those expertise. Law firms, different companies can hire you to help them to provide those services. So OSINT, another part of OSINT we also provide here is OSINT as a risk assessment. So what that means is that referring to companies getting breached by ransomware gangs, for example, and when these companies refuse to engage with these ransomware gangs, these threat actors, they go ahead to release their data on the dark web. So companies come to us and to help them do some investigations on the dark web to see if there's any of their data that's been exposed or maybe being traded on the dark web or marketplaces, so they can be able to know or identify the level of exposure they have. So sometimes we go to dark web and to discover that some personal data has been exposed. We tell them the level of exposure they have, and we also help them to prepare a mitigation strategy based on what is exposed, so they can be able to recover. So referring to the NIST recovery, this is also a part of NIST recovery process that we do. So OSINT, in a nutshell, OSINT is huge when it comes to cybersecurity. OSINT expands to the technical side of OSINT, which is dark web monitoring. Dhashed is also a tool we use for OSINT. It's just a cybersecurity company. Dhashed is a cybersecurity company that provides access to data breached database, as in database that have a lot of leaked personal identifiable information. So you can use Dhash to check if your organization's informations are leaked or being traded on the dark web. So you can use that to check IP addresses, a lot, even your home address. Some OSINTs we do for companies also help them. We also use this tool to help them in their OSINT as a risk assessment. Intelligence-esque is also kind of Dhashed, but a little bit better, in my opinion, because it gives you access to access the Tor network, which is a network we use to access the dark web. So on the surface web, you can use Intelligence-esque to access data on the dark web just by using keyword search, which is a very, very good tool. There are so many tools in the OSINT framework, so many tools. We can't mention all of them, but these are majorly the ones I use in my investigation most of the time to identify what I need, apart from manually going to the dark web to search all those leaked or all those ransom gang leaked sites. So Shodan is also a technical part of like a search engine that can be used to identify any IoT devices or any devices that is connected to the internet. So we can use that to passively investigate if your data is exposed, and I think the paid version can also give you some kind of vulnerabilities that are connected to your devices. So this is just an overview of this tool. Have I Been Pwned is just a website you can use to check to see if your password or maybe your email address, anything is also exposed. Having a very good cybersecurity culture is good to know about all these tools, know how to access the dark web, know how to do OSINT investigation, know how to use Have I Been Pwned, dehashed, intelligent X on your own, to just make sure that your data is not being traded or not being exposed on the dark web, right? So we can talk more about OSINT. OSINT is also used on for example on pen test. So in some of the pen test engagements we've done, we are given a scope to try to hack the company. So in our scope, we are also permitted to go on site. So we use social engineering techniques to also do that. But before we do that, we try to use OSINT to investigate the company as a whole holistically to see if we can get any vulnerabilities on their external network to gain our initial access. But if we don't, most of the time we go on site, we try to use social engineering to maybe, for example, go on site, try to distract the employees to gain access to their device. Then we can plug in a hacking tool that gives us access to their internal network. So OSINT is a huge part of cybersecurity. So it's important we also mention this to you. You can Google this. You can try to do some research on OSINT to know about this more. It's a very, very exciting, service. If you know what you're doing, you can also be doing OSINT as a profession. You don't need to get hired by anyone. You can learn OSINT very well and use that to even get self-employed. Yeah, that is how I see OSINT in my own view. Yep. Sherry, if you can go to the next slide. Yeah, the dark web. Just like I said, the dark web is a huge part of cybersecurity as well, because that is where the threat actors live. That is where they sell and buy the tools they use. That's where they interact. That's where they meet. So it's a huge part of the cybersecurity. So, and accessing the dark web is very important for us as cybersecurity professionals, because if you go to the dark web, you'll be marveled on the things you see. You'll be marveled in the things you see, sex trafficking, so many other things. But bringing that back to investigation side of things, just like I mentioned, it is very, very it is a must-have, if I must use that word. It's a must-have for anyone that is interested in going to cybersecurity. So marketplaces that makes available for anonymous sales, distribution tools for facilitating cyber crimes. So we have a special browser we use to access the dark web, which is a Tor network. So if you have a Tor browser, you can also use that to access the dark web. Darren, if you can expand on this before we go to the next slide.
The Tor browser, yeah, it's the low barrier here is, like Bright explained, it's a free browser and you can install it, and so it means it's not difficult for a would-be threat actor to get into the cybercrime landscape. It's a free thing to install. And we have other reasons. There are ethical reasons for the existence of this network, but the bad guys have found that it's worth it to them. And this next slide here is the kind of stuff that you see there. There's a leak site that Bright mentioned earlier.
Yeah, this is an example of a ransom gang leak site. So if you look at the slide, you see that there is you look at the dates. So if anyone is telling you that companies are not getting hacked, are not getting breached, that is not the truth. Because as of this month, February 17th, some companies' data was published, and this screenshot was taken like few days ago. So if I go back to check today again, I will see a new update. So they are publishing companies' data if you refuse to engage with them or to pay the ransom they are demanding. So they go to these places to publish the data and trade it. So just like this is available for sale. If you have the money, you can pay. So if they can't get money from you, you'll get money from your data. So that's what they do. So I just wanted to show you guys that it is actually existing. This is just one. And I think this ransom gang is play gang. There are so many gangs. There are Royal Gang, there are Ransom Hub, there are so many other gangs. But we just wanted to show you an example of how they operate on the dark web. So this screenshot was taken on the dark web. I can just have access to this, right? Yep. I think this slide is for Darren.
Yeah. So there's your little bit about OSINT and the dark web. Thank you for that, Bright. Sometimes the OSINT part of it is the entire engagement. That's what we get hired for. That'll be the whole thing. So we do spend a lot of time on that, and it doesn't really involve pen testing, but just look around, see what's online. There was a question earlier about what does using the internet safely mean, and that's a really broad answer here. One of those things you can do is your password. Is pick a good one. Right now are the tools here. If the bad guys, your password might not get given away by you. It might be stolen from somebody else. And so it's important to make sure you are doing the right things around your password. This graphic right here shows how long it takes with the standard computer there, that RTX 4090 graphics card. And the password, the encryption mechanism is a bcrypt, which is not that secure right now, but is stronger than some of the stuff that's out there. But this is how long it would take a computer to crack the encrypted version of your password. And this has to do with just the length of your password. So that column on the left is the number of characters in your password. And this is one of the things we can do. Very often when you create an online account, your username is going to be your email address. So you don't often get a choice about what your username is going to be. You always have a choice on what your password is. Everything makes you pick a password. And now one of the things that we've seen people doing is they continue to pick bad ones. There is, I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Spaceballs. It's a science fiction comedy from like 1987. And in that movie, they make a joke. It's like the king's like, the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then Dark Helmet, Rick Moranis' character, like flips the lid up and is incredulous, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What a ridiculous password that is. That's the stupidest combination I ever heard. It's the kind of combination an idiot would have on his luggage. And then, but the most commonly breached password in 2024 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're not getting better at passwords. The world is not. It's a science fiction movie. It's almost 40 years old, before the internet was in people's houses, and has come to fruition here today in 2024, 2025. And it's just great. So that's one of the things that we teach people as cybersecurity professionals, and one of the things in the NIST framework, as you need to pick a better password. You cannot use the same password for every account. So what constitutes choosing a good password? Sherry, if you wouldn't mind flipping to the next slide, please. So here's these good password. And so let's think about like the classic rules about what you have to follow to create your password. It has to be a minimum of 8 characters and 1 uppercase letter and 1 lowercase letter and a special character and a number. That's been kind of the rule for passwords for a long time. And if you're only doing that, one of the things that I didn't realize before I got into cybersecurity was how much of a study in like human psychology it is, and how like the predictability of people. So a lot of these attempts by bad guys just rely on people being people. And so we know that if you are only required to use an 8-character password, that's all you're going to use. People are predictable. And so if you're following those minimum requirements, the capital letter is the first one in your password. And then you have 5 lowercase letters. And then you have the symbol and the number, or the number and the symbol. And now I might be pretty close to a lot of people's passwords out there. So hopefully this will inspire some password changes today. But so those are really outdated password practices. And the bad guys understand that people are creatures of habit. So we're getting people to like make a longer password. Longer is better. If you look back at the previous slide, it shows like the amount of time it takes for a bad guy to breach your password is directly related to the length of your password. And by even adding one character to the length of your password, it goes from like 4 hours to 11 days. I mean, you go from 8 characters to 9 characters. And then once you're at 12 characters, it goes into the thousands of years. So, and every little bit longer you can make your password is better. Don't use any personal information. Bright talked about OSINT earlier, and that's one of the places that a pen test usually starts with. Let's get a list of employees, and let's maybe have a look at their social media profiles, because people pick passwords that are their kids' names or their spouse's names or their dog's name or their birthday or a wedding anniversary, stuff like that. If we can learn that information online, now we have reasonable things that we can guess at what your password might be, because people are predictable. If you're choosing something that isn't related to that stuff, you are taking that power away from the bad guys. So this is stuff that we teach everybody. Instead of just a password, you can use a passphrase, and you can use all lowercase letters. The combination of characters is a thing that we kind of have to undo right now, because we taught people for a long time that you should be using, use a 0 instead of an O or a 3 instead of an E, but all of those are just part of the alphabet to a computer. But to a person, that makes it confusing to remember. So what we've taught people for a long time is to make passwords that's still easy for a computer to guess, but impossible for them to remember. So it's like, okay, so we know now that just the length of your password is better. You can use all lowercase letters if you want, but as long as it's long enough. So a passphrase, something like, we went to the beach and swam in the cold water. There's a 30-character password. The bad guys see you using a 30-character password, they won't bother. They go, we'll find somebody else. If it becomes a choice, we'll find an easier one. Like you're looking at 2 houses on the street, you're going to break into one or the other. One has the front door is open, the other one has 2 large dogs and a security system. Well, we're going to take the easy one. So as long as you're not the one, if you and me are being chased by a bear, I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you.
Yep.
Neither of us are faster than the bear.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, for sure. Like in some of the pen test engagements we do, one of the things we try to do an initial investigation OSINT holistically to gather the names of the employees. Then we get the usernames. We try to brute force and try to see if we can crack any passwords. So if we gather any hashes, sometimes we have seen password like summer 2023. Summer 2023, just an employee, because they have a very bad password policy. So we're able to use that to log in as a low privilege user. And maybe some few days later, that same employee noticed that maybe his email was logged in from an unknown location. So maybe he got an alert. He changed the password. Guess what the password is? 4123. 44123. So very common thing. So we are we just guessed because we're already in 4. So he changed. So some employees are very lazy to change or try to create a password they can't remember because they just want something easy for them to remember. But in this pen test, this is a very, very good example of bad password policy, because we're able to crack the password. If you go to the previous slide, you will notice that how many minutes it takes. So it takes only a few hours to crack that password, and we use this to have access to the internal network. And when they changed the password, they changed the password to something very easy again. We also we guessed that one, and it worked. So we use that to have initial access to the company and escalate to like a admin privilege user. So having a very bad password hygiene is very, very bad. I'm just trying to put this out there as a real life scenario on a pen test engagement you have done. So yep.
Yeah, that Bright mentioned password policies there. So people will pick the weakest password that they are allowed to pick. So we have to force them to pick something better. He talked about cycling passwords, and that's on here. Don't cycle those. I think we did another one, Bright. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they had about 12 employees, and independently of each other, I think 4 of the employees all picked the same password.
Yep. Yep, we have seen
And that's
that.
a third. That's a third of the workforce in there. And so they had all picked something like whatever it was, very similar, like spring 2023 or something like that.
Yep,
They had all picked the
correct.
same one because they're forced to change it in 6 months. And then so in 6 months, when they change it again, what are those 4 passwords going to be? They're going to be fall 2023. All 4 of them will be. And then spring 2024, and then fall 2024. So bad guys rely on the predictability of humans. And Sherry, if you wouldn't mind going back one more slide there. So I've got a website here where you can check the strength of your password and how secure is my password there. So don't cycle passwords, like break that pattern of predictability. The bad guys will see what your password used to be if they get it in the first place, and then they can go from there and guess what your next password might be. 3 random words is another thing you can use instead of a passphrase. So pick 3 words that are not related to each other or to you. So like cheetah, skateboard, salad. Okay. That can be your password for now. And then you pick 3 different words later. Use the random password generator in your browser. There's all kinds of websites where you can generate a password. I don't know what most of my passwords are. I know what like 2 of them are. And they're all different for every account. So please make sure you pick a good password, something that's not easy to guess. I believe the second most popular password in the world is password. Please don't use that one either. Or password 123 or password 1234. That's not good either. Sure, it's getting longer, but easy to guess. Sherry, if you would mind switching to the next slide now, please. So habits to protect your password. So creating a different password for each account. One of the things we say constantly is that convenience works opposite of security. So what is secure is not convenient, and vice versa. Creating a different password for each account. And if you think about how many online accounts you have, you can probably come up with 50 or 100 in a hurry. And so having a different password for that seems unmanageable. And it is for a human brain. No human brain is going to remember that many passwords. But it's important to have a different one for every account. There's an attack out there called credential stuffing. It happened here in Canada at the Canada Revenue Agency, our tax bosses here a few years ago. So when the bad guys can learn what your username and password are, so those credentials, username plus password is credential, and those pairs, they know that those 2 things go together. And now they take that where they maybe stole it from you or from somebody else, and they see where else those same credentials work online. If your password is the same for multiple accounts, it will give the bad guys access to all of your other accounts. If they steal one of your passwords, it should not give them access to the rest of your life. So that's why you have to have a different password for each account. Even if you have more than one bank account, they need to be different passwords. What logs into one should not log into the other. The bad guys know that people are creatures of habit and tend to pick the same password for everything and across every account because it's easy and it's easy to remember. And unfortunately, convenience is often the choice for people. So make sure you have and use a password manager. If you have it, that's really the only chance that we've got right now. The free one in your browser is a great choice. It's certainly better than nothing. Avoid using your work accounts for personal emails. There are tons of stories of pen testers that have managed to breach an organization because some guy was using his work email account for stamp collecting. And then the pen testers sent that one employee a phishing email about stamps, and a rare one that he had posted on that he was looking for, because we found that online too. And so they sent him a phishing email to his work account about stamp collecting because he'd been using his work account for that. Otherwise, the network was airtight, completely secure. But there was their one way in, that weakest link, the pen tester. And thankfully, it was ethical hackers that managed to find their way in. That's a story from some other ethical hackers that found a similar thing. They thought there was no way in, but wait a second. Johnny's been using his work account for some personal activities. And let's send them something related to this personal activity on that work account to let us into the corporate network. Just get a link in front of Johnny and let him click on it. That's when all the trouble starts. Avoid accessing personal social media accounts from a work account. Before I understood the security implications of it, I didn't know, I couldn't figure out why I wasn't allowed to access Facebook at work, or my personal email account at work, or any other social media account, because this is the way the bad guys are getting stuff in front of us. So that's why so organizations will block those websites so that people can't use them at work. People will do whatever they're allowed to do with a computer. So it's a matter of policing what they're allowed to do with those devices. That save password feature on browsers. So none of the password managers out there are 100% bulletproof. So there are vulnerabilities around every password manager out there, but it's certainly better than nothing. There are attacks in man in the browser. So, but it still requires you to get tricked by the bad guys into clicking something that installs a program that lets them see the passwords you have saved in your browser.
Yep.
And the passwords suggested by Google or those password generators are as good as anything else. They make long ones, and there are password generation websites. You can please make me a password, and it needs to be 16 characters long, or you can drag the slider out to make it longer, and you copy and paste it, and then save it in the browser or any other password manager program you have. So if you don't have confidence in that save the password thing in your browser, those are the free ones, and they work pretty well for something you don't have to pay for. But there is other paid solutions that tend to be a little bit more robust,
Yep.
but they're not free. So
Yes.
pick what suits you. There's all kinds of plans out there for number of devices and number of people you want to incorporate in this plan. They all have like the bronze, silver, gold packages. And so there's maybe an overwhelming amount of stuff to shop through, but it is worth the time. And if you don't want to do it, if you do nothing else, even use that one in your browser. Every browser out there has a save password feature now. Even Google Chrome has a thing that will tell you if one of the passwords you are using is now known to the bad guys, because that password was involved in a breach. So it gives you a notification that you have to change this password today because the bad guys have it now, and they might guess it, and it might be in the next 10 seconds. It might be never. But let's not take that chance. Now that we know the bad guys have it, let's take the old password away from them. Now that password they have is no good, like changing the locks on a door.
Yep. Gori, adding to that, I would advise you to try to spend some money on cybersecurity. Like the bad guys, they spend money. So if you're using free tools, when these guys are paying and spending so much money to breach you, I believe I think we should go beyond using free tools. If you can spend some money on password manager, just try to do that. I think there's a lot of competition and the prices are kind of coming down now. So if you can get anyone, I think it's better to use that instead of a browser password saver or password manager. Yeah, it's better.
Certainly. It's one of those things that you get what you pay for, kind of thing. They pay for antivirus tends to be a bit more robust than free antivirus. Paid for password managers, but decide where you want to spend that money. Yep. Just spending money on it doesn't mean it's going to work. So along with passwords, so picking a good password is paramount, and a different password for every account. Not necessarily convenient, but a thing that we have to teach everyone how to manage. The next thing here is multi-factor authentication, another fact or fiction for you. Multi-factor authentication prevents account takeovers by threat actors every time. So meaning if they have your password, they can't use it because they don't have the other factor. What do we think there? Please type your answer into the chat. If we're using MFA, then we're safe, guaranteed. Most people say mostly fact, but a couple people say that's fiction. And while it is close, Sherry, if you could show us the answer to that one, please. That one is fiction. It's close to 100%, but isn't 100%. It is more than 99% of account takeovers. So multi-factor authentication is one of those things that I believe should be mandatory everywhere. If you give people the choice between you can turn on MFA if you want, the human psychology is they won't. People are predictable. People are pretty lazy. Well, MFA is going to be a different thing. I don't want to have to sign up for that. I don't want to have to do it. It's going to take me longer. It does prevent more than 99% of account takeovers, so it's absolutely worthwhile. But again, isn't bulletproof. Just like password managers aren't. There's a godfather of hacking. You can read about him, Kevin Mitnick, and he passed away a year or two ago. But he was the one that said basically everything's hackable. So we have to layer all these cybersecurity. So in addition to using good passwords that maybe the bad guys can't get or won't guess, we're going to put MFA on top of that. So even if they manage to get that password, we're going to make it more difficult for them to use it. There are ways around it. One of the popular ones is MFA bombing. So not all multi-factor authentication is created equal. If you could please, here we go. So MFA, it might go by a few different names. 2FA is two-factor authentication. 2SV is two-step verification. So they all mean the same thing. But that security systems, that requires two distinct forms. So that's when you get that text message with a 6-digit code, or you get an email with a confirm this. Maybe the weakest one is the one where you just get a pop-up on usually your cell phone, your smartphone, and it says allow. So one of the vulnerabilities around that one is called MFA bombing, and it worked when Uber got hacked a couple years ago. So they just managed to, they try to log into an account. They have the password already. They just need someone else on the other end to approve that second factor. And so they wait until the middle of the night, 2, 3 a.m. when you're sleeping, and they try to log into your account. And then your phone goes off, ding, and it lights up and it wakes you up. And then you ignore it. You're like, I'm not trying to sign into anything, and you ignore it. And then they do it again, ding, and your phone lights up again. And so they'll do this for hours and just wear you down until you give up and finally say, fine, allow. And that's all the bad guys needed you to do. And now they're into your account. So that type of MFA is the least recommended type, something that actually has a 6-digit code somewhere. And the providers of MFA now are getting better at telling people, like, don't give this code to anybody else. We'll never ask for it. And even at the bank and everything else. The first factor is a password or a PIN. The second factor is a texted code, maybe biometrics, so a fingerprint. There's often a question around, well, can't we just use biometrics instead of a password? There is a lot of investment, like billions and billions of dollars into passwordless technologies. And some people think that biometrics, so a retinal scan or a voice scan or something like that, is the way of the future. The problem with that is bad guys are able to replicate those things now, especially with AI technology out there. If they get a copy of your fingerprints, they can then use them. And so the problem with that is now if the bad guy gets your password, you can change your password. You can't change your fingerprints. It's like we can't rely on that either. So we have to layer all these things again and use all of them instead of just being reliant, sitting on one or the other and expect, I have antivirus, I'm good. That's not the case. You got to use everything at your disposal and create all these different layers of security. That if one of them fails, there is something else in the bad guy's way. Or if something becomes vulnerable all of a sudden, a software update doesn't go well, some outage somewhere, it means that MFA gets turned off, or a firewall fails, all that kind of stuff. We have to create redundancy in a lot of networks here as well. Our next one, so the big four that we talk to people about. So I do a lot of like lunch and learns, where I'll go and give people like cybersecurity basics while they have lunch in their office. And I talk to them about the big four. Passwords and MFA are the first two. The third one is software updates. You probably all can think of somebody that you know that it might even be proud of the fact that they never update their device. People resist these software updates because it changes the way that the app works sometimes, and they don't want to have to relearn where the new buttons are, and so it becomes a matter of convenience again. Convenience is not secure. And so, but those software updates that come, or even firmware, any updates that come to a system should be installed as they become available. The important thing that comes with those is the security fixes. So they'll have a patch in there where they identified where there was a vulnerability in the code base, and then they fixed it. And so they push it out so that your device is no longer vulnerable through the new attack that was developed by the bad guys last week. And so, but one of the things that the bad guys do is they go looking around online. They do OSINT as well. They go looking around online for who hasn't updated their software. And as soon as we find one that is out of date, we know what to do. We can just let ourselves in. We know what the secret is. The argument against these software patches is that sometimes they don't go well. I think we have to look no further than what happened in CrowdStrike last year when it knocked out a significant portion of the internet after one of their software updates. I think even Microsoft had a problem last month with their software. One of their software updates didn't go well, and they had to roll it back. So sometimes systems aren't compatible with each other. And so there's really the one argument against it. Otherwise, you should just install the software updates as soon as you can. When it comes to like your personal devices, like your smartphone, your laptop, that are not connected to a corporate network and are not dependent on a lot of other things in a big tech stack, like things in corporate buildings tend to be, then you're going to have fewer problems there. But please just install updates and then tell people that are proud of the fact that they don't update that they're silly for doing that. And please install your software updates right now. You'll learn where the new button is if they moved it, and you'll learn that new feature. And if people don't really like it, they might take it away. And then social engineering is a term you might not have heard before, but I'm going to hand this one. Oh no, I'm going to talk about this one too. This is the fourth thing, the big four. So passwords, MFA, software updates, social engineering. There's a word there you might have seen before, phishing, and that's those emails that we all get. And that's still the number one way that bad guys are still trying to trick you, is via email. And sometimes they might not have seen your email address, but they might be able to guess it. Even in the case of even our email accounts here at ReTrain. So we all have first name, last name at retraincanada.com. So if I get a list of employees, if I see one email address and I can get a list of employees, I can build everyone else's email address. I know what everyone else's email address is going to be. And so that's what the bad guys do as well. So they'll send you an email, but they have more platforms than ever before to be able to try to send you these messages. So smishing is phishing via text message, SMS, short message service. So like WhatsApp or anything else like that. The bad guys love to move conversations to WhatsApp because they can share a link with you there, and not all the social media platforms allow you to. Vishing is voice solicitation. You may have heard of the MGM casino in Las Vegas getting hacked last year. That's a $40 billion company that spends like in the 9 figures on cybersecurity every year because they're a casino. They got taken down by a 10-minute phone call to IT. So the bad guy just called them and pretended to be another IT guy and spoke perfect English. They were out of Russia, but they found somebody, the Russian gang found somebody that speaks perfect English to call the IT department at MGM and say, hey, can you remind me what that password is? So voice solicitation is vishing. So social engineering takes a lot of forms. Quishing is QR codes. So we have those on the tables in restaurants. I still ask for the paper menu at the restaurant. When you consider how the bad guy might be able to trick you, what does it take to make a QR code? I need a computer and a printer. And now I have a QR code that I can stick anywhere. People can't read QR codes. No idea what they say. They just see that square with the whatever pixelated thing in the middle. Your device can tell what it is, but people can't. So go anywhere that there are QR codes, and a bad guy, and if I'm a bad guy, think like a bad guy, put your hat on. I can take my QR code that I made it and stick it right over top of the one that was already there. People can't tell the difference by looking at it, and they'll just scan it. You can generate interest in it. You could go to some public space, shopping center or an airport or grocery store, wherever, and you could there'd be a large blank wall there, nothing else on it, and you can stick a QR code on it, and then send a second person in to scan that QR code and make sure everyone else around you sees them scan that. Curiosity will get the better of some of those people. They'll go, I wonder what that QR code does. Just scan it. That's a very bad idea. We see it on pay for parking now. Like there's no parking meters anymore in Calgary. It's just a sign and scan this QR code and you can type your credit card number in there and you can pay for parking. Business email compromise is another one. So the bad guys guess the password to your email account, and now they can email, and people that are getting emails from your account think it's you. And that was the number one way we were losing money until 2020, when ransomware moved into first place. BEC, business email compromise, is the number 2 way still that the bad guys are taking money from us. Some of those business dealings. So there's cases of the junior accountant. There's a company called Schoolar. They make agricultural equipment in the United States. And so the new accountant intern got an email from the CEO. It was not the CEO. It was just someone with control of the CEO's email account, and sent an email to this person, to this junior accountant, hadn't even met the CEO before. And I mean, if you put yourself in the shoes of that junior employee, like, well, I haven't even met the big boss yet, and now they're asking me for this big ask. I better not screw this up. I better do a good job. And so they do it rather diligently and efficiently. And there you go, boss. I did it. Did I do a good job? And then the boss goes, I didn't ask you to do that. And that's when the scam gets uncovered, but the money's already gone. So the junior employee got an email from the CEO saying, we are purchasing this other company and we would like to appear strong. So it's important that you do this quickly and do it today and get it exactly right on the first go. So we want to look strong to this people. You are going to get an email from the lawyers here shortly. Lawyers, in air quotes there. It wasn't really the lawyers, but that person got the email. The victim got the email that they said they would get. And the CEO, or who they thought was the CEO, was telling him, you're going to get an email from the lawyers with where you can send the payment for this acquisition. And right on schedule, that email came from the lawyer, and this employee and sent the payment for the acquisition here, and the money's gone, and we did it. And it was $17 million, and it went straight to the bad guys through business email compromise. And you're not getting that back. The bank will not make you whole again because you actually sent the money. They didn't steal it from you. You pushed the button to send it. The bank goes, sorry, you sent it. We're not helping you. You got fooled. That's not our fault. But don't count on the bank coming in for you. And AI deepfakes. We talked about AI earlier and how it's getting better. It still isn't perfect, but it's getting better. And so I think we have an example of that in the next one. Hopefully this works. Sherry, you're sharing sound, I hope.
I am. Here we
And
go.
there's Olienka.
Hello everyone. I hope you find this presentation interesting. If there is one takeaway I suggest, it is to not believe the things you hear, read or see. Verify everything.
That's very good advice. You may notice that that picture right there is the avatar that Olienka has in her Teams right now. That's where we got that from. And then we were able to use AI, and you can see the video isn't perfect. Like the movements are a little bit unnatural, and the mouth doesn't quite line up with the words that are saying. But that's getting better. That's certainly better than we could do a year or two ago. And so we left those in as some of the telltale signs of stuff you can look for if you're suspicious of maybe this is AI. So the voice maybe modulates a little bit weirdly and unnaturally. Maybe the head bobs around, or they blink too much, or their hands move too much. One of the things I like to look at, especially in AI images, is the hands, because AI gets those wrong a lot. And so, like, look for 6 or 7 fingers on a hand, or maybe just 2 or 3 fingers. Like, that's one of the places. And around the eyes, I find, is another place to look to see if it's AI or not. But there's a very simple one done with, I think, next to free software, or some of it was free software. So the barrier to be able to do this kind of stuff is very low. And imagine if the video wasn't there. The audio is spot on. So if it's just a phone call, like you don't have any of those clues in the video to help that might tip you off that maybe this is a fake. And so this technology is getting
Hello
better.
everyone.
It's not flawless. It's not flawless yet, and you can look at have a look online, like the gymnastics routines that AI generated. So AI doesn't always get it right, but it's getting stronger and stronger, and so we have to be aware of it. So unless you're in the room with that person, it's getting harder and harder to trust that you are actually talking to the person you think you are via electronic means. Be suspicious of everything. Always verify. If you think that there's been compromise, talk to that person through a different channel. So maybe they're emailing you and something's suspicious now. It's like, well, don't email them back, because the bad guy is going to email you back saying, no, nothing's fine. Everything's fine. Nothing going on here. That's exactly what a bad guy would say. So make a phone call or walk down the hall to their office. Like, hey, did you actually send this email? But you have to talk to them a different way. You can't just email them back. Bright does our phishing campaigns, which people hire us to do as well, which is pretty fun. So I'm going to hand it over to him to talk to you about how phishing works.
Yeah,
And Bright, I wanted to interrupt just before Bright starts. I have to tell you, Bright is so good that he's caught almost everybody in our company with his phishing campaigns, including Darren. Sorry, I had to throw that out there before Bright began.
It was a good one.
Yeah, people in recent time they underestimate phishing, but the truth is that most ransomware attack, the initial access is through phishing, 100% most of the time. So we create cybersecurity awareness training and phishing simulated campaigns to educate employees on how to stay safe and be able to identify phishing attacks. Because if you look at the recent cybersecurity, if you are very very familiar with that, if you look at the threat landscape, you know that phishing is like in the number one most attack method the bad guys use. So phishing is a part of social engineering methodology that the bad guys use to mostly through emails. So that's why companies create policies that you don't use your personal devices. You only use company devices, for example, because in that personal devices we have more control on what you can, on websites you can visit, on what you can do, the things you can download. But beyond that, you see some employees still try to not to follow the company policy by using their own personal devices, and that is how the company network get breached. Because you don't have control over your laptop you brought into the office, and because you know the Wi-Fi password, you can connect, and the phone you're using devices, something like that. So phishing is a huge part of cybersecurity awareness. We simulate phishing campaigns. The truth is, another thing that we should also know is that phishing as a risk assessment is also a part of something we do here. For example, we have I've created campaigns, phishing attacks that I wasn't able to get up to like 30% of the employees, and I was able to get up to 90% by going on site on these guys to listen to their conversations. So I listened to the conversation of this employee. I know of what they're talking about. I know of the internal project. So I used that to develop my attack, and I was able to get up to 90% of the employees. So phishing revolves around even physical security. So a bad guy can listen to your conversation, go to your social media, see the projects you are posting, the things you're talking about, and they can get an organization based on familiarity. Because now I know what you guys are talking about. I know the project you guys are working on. I can use that to develop an attack and spoof an employee to get you. So it's essential to know how to identify phishing attack. This is an example of a phishing email. You have to hover your link, or you hover your mouse on the link to see the actual email that is embedded. You can also check the sender's email address just to make sure it's coming from the right person. Even sometimes when it comes from the person, you don't know if the person has been breached, and there's a man in the middle controlling that conversation. So it's good to, if you see something that is off, or maybe someone that is requesting for you to take an action, it's good to call or try to try to introduce a second authentication method by trying to call. So sometimes you can get an email from your boss instructing you to do something. You need to have the zero trust mindset. Try to call and verify before you proceed to take any action, because the bad guys, they can do anything to get what they want. Just like I told you guys as an example, I've gone to one of our clients' site. This is a law firm. I went there. I was able to listen to the conversation. I used that to simulate an attack. I was able to get up to 90. Even the CEO clicked on that email because I'm now using something that is familiar in the organization to come. I was telling them about the policy change and the scenario is there's a gym company close to their office, so they plan to get their employees free gym membership there. So I used that. So I had to develop an attack with that gym company, reaching out to their employees and offering them 70% discount. So now this is something they're already discussing within the organization, and they are familiar with that conversation. They're aware of it. So when that email came, even those ones that are aware of phishing, based on emotion and familiarity, they went ahead to click on those emails. So phishing is huge in cybersecurity. So this is one of the things I do here, Solve Cyber Solutions. I develop phishing attack and train employees on how to stay aware on all those phishing methodologies. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, the bad guys are doing that everywhere all the time. Also, there are 8 billion phishing emails a day sent per day sent over the internet. So that's one phishing email for every man, woman, and child on the planet daily. A lot of traffic out there. We're going to talk about the indicators of compromise, IOCs, these possible signs of attack. One of the common questions we get, well, how can I tell if I've been hacked? It's not always easy to tell, but sometimes there are some outward signs with your device or something going on in the network. So your computer acts slow or sluggish. Like today, it's running half as fast as it was yesterday. That's unusual. And maybe you don't think you installed anything on it. And meanwhile, there is another program in the background. One of the things the bad guys are doing right now is installing crypto miners, so that because the crypto mining is very electricity intensive, and so they're going to use your electricity to mine cryptocurrency for themselves. So they just need to use your computer. So they target gamers very often with that, because gamers tend to have very powerful computers with graphics units that can mine a lot of crypto. So that's one of the popular things lately that the bad guys are doing, and that's a reason why your computer might be running slower. It's running new programs that you didn't start, but the bad guy did. So unexpected pop-ups, and so that might be from a website So you visited a website and there's a pop-up on it today that wasn't there when you were there before. So your device isn't infected, but that website is, and that might be your clue to stay away from that website because the bad guys have control of it now. And they're serving up maybe some scareware. So that pop-up that shows up says, you have a virus, and just click here to get rid of it. You never had a virus. When you click here to get rid of it, you're about to get one. They call that scareware. So unexpected pop-ups, like that's never happened before. That's weird. And sometimes it's hard to tell. The computer behaves strangely. Like we've had reports of like the mouse was just moving across the screen and no one else was controlling this. Like the bad guy had control of the mouse. Like that's weird. Battery drains faster than normal. And sometimes that happens with smartphones and devices where the battery kind of gets to the end of its life and then it doesn't hold a charge like it used to. But sometimes that is a clue. Like if your device is really warm also, like it's running extra programs in the background, and so it's draining more of your battery because it's working harder than it usually does because someone's installed something on it. Inability to download updates. So you go to do that software update. Maybe you're one of those people that is diligent about that and installs the update right when you have a chance to, but for whatever reason you cannot. That's a sign that the bad guys have control of the device because they know that if you update your software, it's going to kick them out. And then they won't be able to hack their way back in because you're going to install the software, the security fix that will lock that door and keep them out. So there's another clue. It's like, it's not letting me install this update, and it has every month before now. And even unfamiliar programs running the task manager, even have a look. Not everyone knows what a task manager is or where to look for that or what to do when they look there. But it's a program that you didn't launch. And there's a lot of programs that start when you turn on your computer, being able to identify which ones are normal and which one is maybe that's the first time that's happened today. But what can you do? So you see any one of those signs is a thing to, all right, now we have to act. When there is compromise, so even if, and if you get hacked, it's not your fault. Is a thing to remember. We need to, one of the things we're working on is building a culture of say something. Please report this. You shouldn't get fired because you clicked on something because the bad guys trick you. It certainly has happened. Whereas like, well, and even with these phishing campaigns that we do as well, it's like, well, Bob, you failed 5 phishing campaigns in a row. You are a menace to our organization. So we kind of have to cut our losses here. Sorry, Bob, but you still can't identify a phishing email. You're going to be the reason we get hacked. But outside of that, there should be a culture of, let's share information and tell people about, I think I clicked on something, and like run down the hall because seconds matter here in responding to this. It's like when a fire breaks out. Like you don't have long before you really don't like what happens next. So you have to do something. So in order to prevent attack, we tell everyone that prevention is way easier than recovery. So prevention isn't always possible. Sometimes the bad guys let themselves in, but most of the time they're trying to trick people. But think before you click. There's that internet safety thing again. Do not click links or open attachments unless you are expecting it or have verified the origin. You might just get an email with something in it. Accountants tend to be targets of this a lot because they get maybe 200 emails a day with a spreadsheet attached to it. And their just muscle memory is click on the email, download the spreadsheet, enable editing, and then that's when the bad thing happens. So the bad guys learn that they are an accountant and that they just get through these spreadsheets. I just got to get through these 200 spreadsheets today, then I get to go home. And as soon as my work is done, so they rush through stuff and they don't really think about it. Modifying your habits here is going to slow you down a little bit. Like I said, not convenient, but it's, read that email, take 10 extra seconds with that email. 20 extra seconds might be the difference between clicking on something and question it. It's like, am I expecting this? And if you're not expecting it, make the phone call now. It's like, hey, I just got an email from you with an attachment to it, and you didn't tell me you were sending this, and I wasn't expecting it. I'm not sure I should open it. Did you actually send this? Or does someone else have control of your email account? So actually, absolutely say something. Never provide sensitive information over electronic communications. We talked earlier about how social engineering takes many forms. So it could be an email or a text message or a phone call or somebody standing in front of you or a device you found on the ground. So any of that stuff, and we're getting better about warning people, don't give this 6-digit code to anyone else. But not everyone is doing that yet. So we're still working on that. But the bad guys might just be trying to get that last piece of information out of you that they need to be able to access your account. Maybe they already have your password, but they're looking for that second factor, the security question answer. Those of you that might have seen like the Facebook quiz before, it is in no one's interest to ever fill out those. I'm talking about the Facebook quiz that tells you what kind of car you are or what kind of flower you are or what kind of cheese you are, whatever it is. And if you think about the questions that those type of things ask you, it's like they're asking you like, what street did you grow up on, or what was your grandmother's maiden name? Like those are also the security questions that the bank asks you. So that's just bad guys trying to harvest that information. So even, and it might seem really innocent, but they're asking you for that one little piece of information that might be the very last piece. If you think about something as simple as a birth date, it has 3 pieces: as a day and a month and a year. And maybe they already have the day and the month, but they don't know the year, and they just need that to be able to verify your identity for something else. So that last piece of information there. So always say something. If you suspect compromise, just tell your IT department right away, or call somebody that knows. SSL is no guarantee the website's not infected. It just means the website's using encryption. So that little lock that you see in the URL bar does not mean that a bad guy has not compromised this. It just means it's using SSL, versus the lock that isn't there isn't using encryption on it. It means anybody could spy on that connection. And it doesn't mean that the website owners have not been compromised to make that website serve up whatever the bad guy wants. So not automatically secure just because it has SSL. A lot of the stuff that we teach you in cybersecurity in these courses is a lot of the vocabulary that's out there. It is endless. And the acronyms that we have, you can drown in the sea of acronyms that even just learning computer networking has. And there's a new networking protocol that gets released every week. So the word malware is kind of like the overarching term. You've heard of software and hardware and firmware maybe. And this is malware. So a malicious software program. Malicious software is where malware comes from, and it has a lot of different variants here. So spyware collects information about users without their knowledge. Some companies find a way to do this legally, like Google has managed to find some loopholes that they spy on whatever they're doing, whatever else you're doing through their browser or through other stuff. But sometimes the spyware will be installed by a bad guy and they designed it themselves. And it's just looking at what other software programs you have in your computer, and that will give them ideas on what to do next. And a virus damages your data and files. Ransomware blocks the PC, takes control, encrypts your files, and then pay us, or we leak your data that we stole. You can pay us to have your data back. And the reason we're telling people to not pay ransom is that so often that people pay the ransom and then the bad guys don't do what they said they would do. They lied about everything else up until now. Why wouldn't they lie about that too? They say, nice try. Yeah, thanks for the payment, but we're still not deleting your data. Pay us again. Adware automatically displays or downloads advertising material such as banners or pop-ups when a user is online. And so that one's less malicious for you, but what it is generating ad view traffic for that bad guy. And they get paid for all the computers that actually see that ad. So that adware there just installs stuff on a computer that shows that ad to you over and over again, and it drives up that ad count, and it gets them paid more. They're generating revenue using your computer without your consent or knowledge. A Trojan horse is the whack from Greek mythology. So that horse that was given as a gift that had a surprise inside. A Trojanized program is a very popular way for bad guys to get access. It counts as social engineering. When you are like looking around online, and the allure of free stuff is too much for a lot of people to resist. Or game cheats is another popular one. So it's advertised as maybe a software program that you normally have to pay for, but today it's free. And for a limited time, and they'll show you, only the next 2 hours you can get this for free. And then it turns out then you install it and you get the program that you wanted, but you also get another one that was inside that you don't want. And it's one of those other with spyware or a virus or ransomware that is inside that package. So it might steal or even erase information. And Worms takes up space and slows your system by making copies of itself repeatedly and just fills up your file system. Or we'll go from computer to computer to computer as long as they're all in the same network. So malware has a lot of different variants on it. Digital forensics. I think I'm going to hand this one over to Bright since he does it sometimes and he has more experience with it than I do.
Yeah, this is to investigate cyber incidents that has occurred. Digital forensics is a part of the respond and recover in the NIST framework. So after a cyber breach, most of the time, companies bring send in the device or maybe their server for us to investigate to see how the bad guy was able to gain access to the network, initial access. Just referring to what we said about phishing and the question, I think the question someone asked about is phishing hacking. Yeah, most of the time, the initial access is through phishing. So when we do digital forensics, we're able to identify the root cause analysis. We're able to identify the root cause, how the bad guys were able to even gain access to the network and was able to encrypt and exfiltrate their data. So this is also a huge part of cybersecurity. Just like I mentioned, is compulsory in the response and recovery part of cybersecurity. So companies recover through backed up data. So when they get breached, they try to recover and continue their business through their backed up data, but they want to know how it happened to help them to analyze and be able to mitigate all those loopholes that this guy. So sometimes we identify is true phishing attack. So it's a huge part of cybersecurity. This is just an overview of what we do. So it's just to analyze computer systems, servers, to identify informations and be able to interpret it in a very understandable way. So law enforcement gives us projects to do on digital forensics, companies, law firms, so many organizations. So digital forensics is, I would say that is an investigation part of cybersecurity. Investigation part of cybersecurity. So Darren, you can expand on that. Yeah.
Yeah, those forensics. If you've had a fire in a building, the fire department doesn't just drive the trucks away once the fire's out. They have an investigation. How did this start? And how can we prevent this from happening again the next time? A lot of times forensics are required as well, as you can't just put the fire out. You have to learn something from this so that it doesn't happen again. And forensics can be fairly tedious, but is an interesting thing, and that might be your whole job as well in cybersecurity. It might be part of a blended role as well. And it is a recovery thing as well. So Bright talked about backups that are there for if you have to restore your system because the bad guys have taken control of it or have encrypted your data. You can just say, no, we're not paying. We have backups. The bad guys will try to steal your backups first if you left them laying around carelessly. The other piece of the recovery part is insurance. Now, insurance companies will use the word protection a lot, which goes higher up in the NIST framework. In the cybersecurity world, it is not. The insurance doesn't prevent attacks. Even car insurance doesn't prevent car accidents. Having home insurance doesn't prevent houses from burning down. So cyber insurance does not prevent attacks. It's not preventive. It is reactive. So cyber insurance works much the same as car house insurance. Coverages are usually centered around business interruption costs. So if you have ransomware and now your computers don't work and so you can't do business as usual, there will be coverage built into that insurance policy up to certain limits of the policy, maybe a number of days or a dollar value. And we'll say we'll give you money for that for the amount of time that you're offline, or liability coverage. So people need cyber insurance for if they get hacked and a bunch of other people's data got stolen. And then now they're getting sued by saying, well, you promised you'd keep my data safe and you let the bad guys steal it from you. So now you better get a lawyer because I'm suing you. Look no further than in the US last year was a very high profile attack, the United Healthcare. That was the same organization that had the CEO got shot in December. But they had a ransomware attack in February last year, a year ago. They are still dealing with the fallout from it this month, a year later. And they initially thought that the bad guys had accessed the data of 100 million people. Like the population of the US is only like 350 million. And then this year, in January, they said, sorry, we were wrong when we started. It was 190 million people. So more than half the population of the US had their data stolen. And that's not to say that none of that data was already out there, had not been stolen from another source previously. But now we have United Healthcare is staring in the face, like they already paid the ransom twice. They paid the ransomware gangs because the ransomware gang pulled an exit scam on the bad guys and said, sorry, affiliates, we're not paying you. And the affiliates said, well, we didn't get paid and we still have your data, so please pay us again. But there's a lot of people that might be bringing lawsuits against United Healthcare. Simply wanting cyber insurance is not enough to get it. If you are not doing enough things to protect your own data, insurance companies will not offer you cyber insurance. So you have to do stuff. You have to pick what's your password policies like, and that's when we refer back to the NIST framework. So one of the things we do at Solve is help people qualify for an insurance policy at all. The insurance company says, no, you're not doing enough, and then here's the things you can do. Even insurance applications are getting longer. 2 years ago, they were 3 pages. This year, they're 9 or 10 pages. So insurance companies are learning more about this stuff as well, and what it means to actually make sure that you're doing enough to prevent this stuff so that they'll not be on the hook for money. And downward pressure from regulators. So this will be more and more common thing where companies don't really want to have to buy cyber insurance, but the regulator's like, you have to. It's like, but we don't qualify for cyber insurance. The regulator's like, well, figure out how to qualify for it. So that'll be a thing that we do more and more in the future around cybersecurity as it becomes a requirement.
So Darren and Bright, I have to tell you, every time I listen to either of you, I learn so much. Honestly, there's always things that are changing. Everybody here was fortunate enough to experience kind of a snippet of the knowledge that Bright and Darren have that they share with people. So I want to kind of just wrap this up a little bit. As Olienka mentioned, we offer, of course, some short corporate training sessions similar to what you experienced today, focused on a broad array of topics or specific. We also have the 6-week Cyber Foundations and Quality Assurance course, and you can see kind of a listing of some of the items on the screen that are covered in this course. Also, please notice that all units involve a self-study component. Neither of these programs are for the lighthearted. There is some work involved. There's also, if you take a look here as well, the specific topics that are in applied penetration testing. And of course, Olienka is going to share this slide deck with you, and you can ask the gentleman some questions in a few moments. Please mute your mic just for another moment, everybody. So I want to wrap up with just a couple quick things. Whoops, I went one too far. Hang on. Where are we here? All right, so some sample career opportunities that you can get involved in include security analyst, security engineer, penetration tester, governance, risk and compliance, staff trainer. As you just saw both Darren and Bright point out, that people are the number one way into a company. I think a couple of you mentioned that as well. So being able to train, IT consultant, senior leadership role. As for who should attend, and I love this answer. Anybody interested in being part of the future? Cybersecurity is the future. Anyone tired of their current role or looking to transition into something new? Somebody wishing just to augment their current skills. So if you're already running an office or a team, you may be the point person to be able to explain cybersecurity protocols or help to initiate some of the NIST framework. Age, of course, not a barrier. Background, as you could see and you heard a bit today, every kind of industry is going to be reliant on cybersecurity. So whether you're working within the industry, whether you're running a team, or whether you're running a separate cybersecurity role, these are all really valuable. So finally, I want to just make sure that you have all of this contact information. ReTrain, in partnership, of course, with ReTrain Nigeria, help people to upskill, reskill, or fill in the gaps in training. Olienka is a master at what she does. Her and her team will speak with you, take a look at your resume, see what it is they can do to assist you. So please make sure you reach out to that ReTrain Nigeria team because they are absolutely phenomenal. Olienka, I'm going to pass it over to you. Darren and Bright, I'm sure there's going to be a few questions popping up. But Olienka is your contact person at ReTrain Nigeria. Darren and Bright, thank you again for sharing your knowledge. I think I speak for everybody here when I say that we would want to know more, so much more. We would keep listening to you for hours so that we could learn how to best protect ourselves and maybe just to see another Olienka video because that's awesome. But I will
Cherry,
mute.
we're going to use you next time, just so you know.
Okay.
Oh, we're going to use me? Great. So we'll open, Olienka, I'll hand it back over to you. But thank you again for hosting us and a big thank you to Darren and Bright.
Thank you for having me
Thank you
today.
so much, Sherry. Thank you, Bright and Darren. That was extremely informative and insightful. So please, we're going to open the floor now. If you have any questions, you can either put it in the chat box or you can raise up your hand and I'll unmute you so that you can ask. So if you have any questions, and while we're waiting for questions, if you're also interested in taking a cybersecurity course with us, I'm going to drop the link to the application form. So once you fill the form, we'll reach out to you, discuss your peculiar needs, and then also find a way to schedule you in one of our classes. Sorry, let me just share the link. Okay, so I've shared the link in the chat box. So any questions, any comments? Okay.
I think there was one question in the Q&A. It was a while back. So Kennechuck was asking, why is the Tor browser used in accessing the dark web? It is the required browser to access the Tor network. So if you're using any other browser, it won't let you into that network to be able to access the dark web. It's known as the dark web browser, the Tor browser.
Okay. So yes, I've put in the application form. So once you fill the form, we'll definitely reach out to you, and then discuss pricing and scheduling. I guess there's no question because nobody's saying. I appreciate all of you saying thank you. You are highly welcome. We appreciate you for staying till the end. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you, everybody. We
the
hope to see you.
yes. So the recording
Hello.
and the okay. Yes. Hi.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is David. Please, I have a question concerning this cybersecurity thing. I actually don't know much about it, so I was just sent this link to join the meeting this evening, so I did. So what I have in mind to ask is that I've been searching on what cybersecurity course should I go for, because I just graduated from economics and economics department of recent. So I need one or two cybersecurity courses to back up my certificate. So I've been thinking on which of the particular course should I go for, but I don't know, and I don't even know how to choose. So I was just sent this link now. Maybe I can just get a help from here. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Abayomi. So I think the first thing you should do, please I put the link to the application form there. So once you fill in your details, we'll reach out to you. We'll discuss. There's also an option to upload your resume. Yeah, so we'll reach out to you. We'll have a proper like consultation, a call, and then figure out which of our programs you should probably start off with. So please just fill the form and then we'll reach out to you. Yes, as soon as we get your details. Is that okay, Abayomi? Second, the price will be in Naira. You'll pay in Naira. I saw a question about that. Please send the link for a course to my email. Okay, I don't know what that means. Okay, so the course is not free, but it's not free. So, but once you show interest, it's not free. I can tell you that upfront right now. It's not free. But we don't want price to be the factor. We don't want the price to chase you away. So, but we want to understand your interest and then find a way to schedule you for our classes. Because we have different what's it called? Payment options. There's the flexible payment option where you get to pay instrumentally. You can also take a loan. We're partnered with FinQuest, and then you can also get a scholarship. So just fill the form and then we'll reach out to you. Okay, do you offer mentorship? Yes, so there's, as I mentioned earlier when we started, it's not just about, we're pretty much going to hold your hand. So you definitely have access to Bright and Darren to guide you after you take the courses and even during the time you're taking the course. So yes, we do offer mentorship. And yes, you're getting a globally recognized certificate. It's from ReTrain Canada, so it's globally recognized. Okay, so please fill the link. And as I said, the presentation, no, there's no deadline for the form. You can fill it as soon as possible, but there's no deadline. The presentation, the slides, the recording will be shared both on the WhatsApp community and yeah, it will be shared only in the WhatsApp community. So if you're not in the WhatsApp community, let me share the link for that right now. Okay, and to share via email if you registered. So if you registered for the program via the Microsoft Teams registration, you also get the presentation slide and the recording of this video. I want to get the link for the WhatsApp community. Okay. Is it necessary? Okay, Darren, I think this might be for you. So is it necessary to learn about Linux before starting the program?
No, we start right from the ground floor with Linux command line in the course.
Okay.
Ask Bright. I taught
Awesome.
him Linux.
Yeah. Initially, it was like alien language, but yeah, we
Awesome.
succeeded.
Not before. We'll teach you that here.
Okay. So, Aduragbemi, I believe that answers your question. So I've also put the link to the WhatsApp community as well in case you're not there. Because I said, as long as you registered, you're going to get the presentation slides and the recording by tomorrow. Yes. Okay, so let's not keep you guys any longer. Thank you so much for joining us and staying. Okay, someone is asking if programming is necessary. Don't know,
Not
Darren and
necessary,
Bright.
but not necessary, but very helpful.
It's helpful. Okay.
And yes, real world projects. Absolutely. We're going to put you in a real scenario and we're going to paint a picture and it will simulate real attacks in the pen testing course.
Okay. So you guys are hearing from the horse's mouth. And the classes are just the way, okay, well, it's very interactive. So yeah, sorry, Darren, you're going to say something.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting your hands on it, and that's the best way to learn it, we find. So we simulate the real things, and a lot of it is going to be how much time that you spend with it. So I'll introduce you to a lot of these concepts, and then you just got to get your reps in and get your 10,000 hours.
The 10,000 hours, that's how long it takes to learn a skill, right?
Yeah, become an expert. Okay. Become an expert in a skill, not necessarily how long it takes.
Okay. Yeah. Become an expert. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
the programming language
asking what the
yeah, sorry. Which programming language? People who ask me which programming language to learn first, I recommend Python. If you're interested in cybersecurity, a lot of the exploits are written in Python, and a lot of systems you can understand Python. But any programming language is helpful. The basic concepts of the way programming languages work and those like decision-making structures and the way that they process information is mostly the same. So anyone's good, but Python if you need an easy one to start with.
Sorry, someone asked what the minimum system requirement is.
Oh, for a computer, I mean, you're going to want, we're using virtual machines a lot of the time. So something with a little bit more RAM, 8 gigs of RAM will do it. But if you get more RAM, 16 gigs of RAM is helpful to make your system run a little more smoothly. And an Bright, what kind of processor should they have? Like an i7 or an i5 will probably do it, right?
i5 should do it.
An i5, yeah. 16 gigs is better. More RAM is better, but RAM's expensive. You'll be able to get it done with 8 gigs, but you might not like it that much. But yeah, a dual core processor, an extra monitor is also helpful if you can get your hands on that.
And extra monitor is nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
So the The Cybersecurity Foundations and Quality Assurance is for 6 weeks, Mondays to Fridays, probably 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. or 5 to 8 p.m. And then you can move on to the pen test, which is another 6 weeks, and then the pen test 2, which is another 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and a question about Macs there. Macs don't like virtual machines. And so it becomes a bit more of a fight with your Mac. You can get it to work, but you'll have to fight it a little bit more than you would on a Windows machine. So a Windows machine will give you a nicer experience than a Mac, but you can still get it done on a Mac.
Hey. Hey. Thank you so much, Darren and Bright. We really appreciate. And thank you to everyone who has stayed till now and has really engaged and asked questions. So I've put all the necessary links there, and yeah, so please feel free to fill the form and join the group, and also send me a message if you need to talk to me personally before I reach out to you, or before we reach out to you. Hey, sorry, Oluwaseun Alabi, do you want to say something? I see your mic is unmuted. Yes. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you for your time today, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.